Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, today's video, I want to talk a little bit about something that's in the news that's hit the news waves and whatever this morning. And then I want to talk about, I don't know how to call it, maybe some housekeeping stuff, things that are going on here in the Ozarks, relation to our meeting, people that are wanting to move here. If you are one of those folks that have some kind of intention of maybe potentially moving to the Ozarks, stick with me on this video to the end, or at least the latter part, and I'll have some information that you'll find probably interesting. Before I get started, folks, we're all trying to prep up. We're all trying to acquire the things that we need, including food, and I encourage you to shop other places. I made a video, I believe it was yesterday, talking about some ways to stock up on food, but one of the ways that you can is by purchasing emergency food, which is that freeze-dried long-term food. That stuff's going to last 20-30 years on the shelf, and you can purchase that at preparewithtravis.com. I'm not saying you have to, but it is a good deal, and it's a good product, and about the best price per calorie that you're going to find out on the market. It's a company called Patriot Supply that I work with, and they offer quite a good variety at a really good price. So Patriot Supply's link will be in the description below, but you can also go to preparewithtravis.com and you can find stuff there. All right, first off, for any of you that live on the left coast out there in California, I'm sorry, but in case you haven't heard, your governor has issued a new mandate that all K through 12 students in public schools must receive this. This order will take effect as soon as the FDA makes its final approval for those young kids, which will probably be soon. I would say at least by the end of this month, but most likely in the next few days. And the reason why I'm saying is there's been a lot of talk of trying to get it passed in time so that kids can get it, so that they can be fully, whatted by the time they go trick-or-treating. So I would suspect that we're going to hear an approval soon. That's probably why this order was issued today, maybe in the next few days. Who knows, by the end of this day? We don't know. This is pretty serious. I haven't looked into the details of it. Are there exemption clauses? Some of these mandates that we're seeing, they're making it to where you can't be exempt even for religious or medical or whatever reasons, especially religious reasons, or just personal objection. So I don't know what to tell you. I've got, my wife and I have some close friends that live in California, good friends of ours. We've been begging them for a long time to get out of there. And, they live in one of those conservative areas. There's actually a lot of conservative areas of California. And that's where a lot of the people, they think that, they're safe there. But it's a communist country, basically. It's a communist state. And one of the last things that would make a place communism is the lack of free voting. And it's very possible that this last recall election kind of proved what that was, depending on how you believe and how you, interpreted that. But don't think for a minute that this kind of stuff is just exclusively only happening in California, and that it's only going to stay there, or it's only going to be in New York. There is going to be a push for this to be everywhere, and it's all part of this globalist agenda that we talk about all the time. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I was actually thinking last night about this. I'd listened to a podcast, and it wasn't in the podcast, but it did get me thinking that we have to look at this whole thing as kind of like a spectrum. On one side of the spectrum, you have the globalist agenda, what they want to do, okay? You can read all about it in like the Agenda 2030 initiative and the Great Reset, World Economic Forum initiatives. There's all sorts of paperwork out there, all sorts of videos. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, you should catch up because there's a lot out there. And on their end of the spectrum, they want to control everything under one big globalist, type of a union. There's a lot of indication there that they want to reduce the population size dramatically, anywhere between 40% and some people say maybe as high as 90%. These globalists they want to pretend like they're good and make people think that they're good, but trust me, that's not the case at all. And so that's one end of the spectrum, very extreme, mind you, where you're not owning anything. You don't own anything and you'll be happy. You don't eat meat and you'll be happy. You'll eat grub worms, all this kind of stuff. You're all going to live in big cities. No one can live out in the country. All this. This is the one end of the spectrum. Okay. The other end of the spectrum is where you and I stand, and the few nations that are pushing back against this. And I know that some of these nations that aren't falling in line with this globalist agenda aren't necessarily super free countries. They're more nationalist than they are about individual freedom, but nevertheless, they're still pushing against this kind of globalist agenda. So there's the globalists, the Agenda 2030, Great Reset, World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, Bilderbergers, blah, 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 on this side. And then there's people that are, for individual freedoms or for national identity, and that's not a racist thing, I know. A lot of people interpret that as that. It could be if you go off in another, rabbit trail. But I'm talking about that's just, believes that the nation should be sovereign on its own and not part of a nationalist umbrella or international umbrella. What we're most likely going to get is somewhere in between. And what determines where that in between is going to be, in the middle, over here, will be folks like you and I, and folks around the world that are resisting this. And we don't know where we're gonna fall. I suspect, through my beliefs and how I've read in the good book, that we're probably going to end up somewhere real close over here on the far left side of the spectrum. But nevertheless, I do think that anywhere we end up, it's going to be much worse off than we are now. I don't think we're going to end up, to the right of where we want to be. If you catch my drift, I think we're going to, however this plays out, we're going to be less free than we have been before. So it's just one more reason why we should prepare. All right, that's enough for that rant. What I want to get to today, it may not be as fun of a video. It may not be as, I want to get out there and, stand on the line, lock and load kind of video, but it's nevertheless important. Number one, our meeting here locally is coming up in a couple of days, October 3rd, Sunday at 2 p.m. It is in Texas County, Missouri. Some people kind of think that means Texas as in the state. It's not. It's in the state of Missouri. There is a county called Texas County, and Texas County is kind of in the middle of the Missouri Ozarks, and that's where the meeting's being held. If you want information, shoot me an email at this email address, and I'll give you the how to get there kind of stuff. Meeting starts at 2. The doors open around 11:30, 12. I think it's going to be a really good meeting. I suspect, and I'm totally guessing based on what's happened in the past and the amount of response that I'm getting from people, I'd say probably 100 to 150 people will be there. Last month we had 300. I pushed that meeting a lot harder, and we had a bunch of really cool giveaways. We gave away 10 ounces of U.S. Silver Eagles. So that was probably a big incentive. But there's people from all over the country coming. I've heard from people from Illinois and from Florida that are driving up. And part of it is because they want to be part of a community, and they're not finding it where they're at. And they know that there's one growing here, kind of in the start. And so they want that. And they know that the Ozarks is a good place to kind of ride out the wave. Not the only place, don't get me wrong. Not the only place, but it is a good place. And we have good laws for this kind of lifestyle. And so people are wanting to come to that. And so part of the things that I'm going to talk about in the meeting, and I've got a few they're special. Sorry, I didn't mean to say they're not special. Few guest speakers also, giving some demonstrations on stuff that they've come up with to help you in your preparedness walk. And then I plan on talking about Number one, just imparting the information that I have had about this area. A lot of people that are coming to the meeting are either new to the area or kind of new to prepping. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so with the help of some of the audience, I'm going to share information of like, where's some of the better places to stock up on stuff? What are some bulk food supply places? Because they exist. There's actually stores here in the Ozarks that really cater to preppers. And some of them you can find some really good deals. And so I'm going to share some of that information and then talk more, which is what I did last month, talk about, coming together as a community, helping each other out. So that's kind of what's going on at the meeting. Now, I also want to talk about, for those of you that want to move here, I don't mention this a whole lot on the channel because I don't want to get too overwhelmed with it, or at least this friend of mine. But my wife and I do have a personal friend that's a realtor in the area, and she's kind of a homesteader herself. She's pretty good at what she does, and in fact, several of you she has helped find land. So I usually pass her information on to them. I'm not getting anything from it. I used to get free milk from her, but she's got out of the milk business and she's switching things around. So, but that's fine with me. I'm not doing it to make money off of it. But we talk, and my wife talks to her about kind of the scuttle, the down low on real estate and properties and stuff here in the Ozarks. So here's some things. Number one, she didn't ask me to tell you this, but I'm doing this because she's a friend. If I send you her information, I'm only going to do that for people that are actually really serious. Okay, she's a realtor. She doesn't have the time to be just looking up stuff for people that are curious. If you are in the process of selling your house, you have money, you're pre-qualified, things like that, that you're serious. You are serious. You plan on doing this soon. Then I'll give you her information. Also know that she's a real estate agent, and she has a lot of clients, and she's not working for just you. And so she, it's busy right now. It's kind of busy around here because not only in the people that I'm talking to, you people are wanting to move here. There's a lot of other people that don't know who I am. They're not picking up her information on YouTube. They just want to move here too. There's kind of an exodus from the rest of the world into the Ozarks, in a manner of speaking. And so she's busy. So it doesn't mean that she can devote 8 hours a day, 6 days a week to just helping you find a house. She will do a good job, and she's really good at trying to find stuff. And she occasionally gets some good information. She's well known in the area. And so occasionally she'll send me information, say, hey, someone called me saying that they're wanting to sell their property. I think it'd be kind of a good homestead bug out property. Here's their information in case you know anyone that's looking. I get that from her every once in a while. She also told me land is kind of starting to dry up around here. There's been a lot of people buying it, and it is starting to dry up. She said it is available. It's just not this plethora of land that there once was. The Ozarks was like that. You could throw a rock in one direction and hit 10 properties for sale because it was cheap. Land was cheap here. 4 years ago, I could buy 10 acres for $1,800 an acre. It was possible. You could buy 100 acres for under $1,000 an acre. It's not that way anymore. Now be careful because people are trying to overprice it. I've seen people put $5,000 and $6,000 an acre on just land. That's ridiculous around here. Probably what's considered okay around here right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000, which again, yes, is high compared to 4 or 5 years ago. But what's going on right now, that's probably about right. You're going to have to be patient. I know you're wanting to do something fast, a lot of you, but you're going to have to be patient. But here, I've got some information, some intel from her. And she's doing this mostly because of the influx of people that I'm sending her. She has been in contact with some people that are real estate investors. And hearing from you viewers, now this is something, this isn't just exclusive for you guys that watch this channel, but she's doing it in a large part because of you guys watching this channel. that are interested. She's been in contact with some real estate investors that are looking into buying large amounts of land, because there still is that. The problem isn't finding land for sale. The problem is finding 5-acre, 10-acre, 20-acre, 30-acre plots. Most of the land right now is 200-300 acres, 700-800 acres, 1,500 acres, 5,000 acres. You know, if you came here with $20 million and wanted a large amount of land, you could do that. You know, or $5 million, or even $1 million. So she is working with and in communication with some real estate investors that she's got to know, that are working out a plan to potentially be starting to purchase some of these large parcels of land, and then breaking them down, trying to make sure that they're doing it in an economical way, so that you're not paying a ridiculous price for it, because they're wanting to make money, and she's telling them, hey, I'm getting lots and lots of calls from people that are interested in buying. And so it's possible in the near future. I don't know a timeline, so please don't ask me. But it is possible in the near future that there will be some land opened up for sale, because it looks like some of these people are going to be investing into some acreage of probably in the neighborhood of a few hundred acres in a few different spots, and then breaking that down into maybe 5, 10, 20-acre plots of land for you to buy. I will certainly let you know when I find out more details, or when I hear that this is happening. The Ozarks is a good place to move. It really is. It's not the only place. I happen to live here, and I like it. 20 years ago or so, 25, maybe not that much, maybe 15 years ago, although I'm getting older. 15 to 20 years ago, I did some intense research, probably for a year, of where would be the best place to live to ride out many, many, many different apocalyptic or devastating catastrophes. I looked into, flooding. I looked into earthquakes. I looked into volcanic eruptions, calderas, EMPs, nuclear war, famine. I looked into all these, even on the more fringe stuff, rising sea waters and tilting of the earth, and all these kind of things I looked into. I think a bug just flew into my ear. And the Ozarks wasn't necessarily the very, very, very best, but I never could really find any place that was a whole lot better than the Ozarks. But the big thing was that the Ozarks was much cheaper than anything else on that list that made the top list. Way cheaper, cost of living way cheaper. And the biggest thing is that the laws, for living here was much better. You can find some great land to ride out, the apocalypse in Colorado, but you got to live in practically a communist, left-leaning, ran state. And so you're not going to be able to do all the things you want to. Here, Missouri, especially in the Ozarks, these counties, they pretty much don't care how you live. You can build a house without building codes and inspections. You can collect rainwater. You can make it off-grid, on-grid, do whatever kind of plumbing you want to do. They don't really care. Usually, as long as you have at least 5 acres of land, they don't care what you do on that land. And so that's the beauty of it. And the laws are very nice here. Homeschooling laws, gun laws, all kinds of stuff. Even though we do have a state tax, the taxes overall are very low, and we rank as one of the lowest tax states overall, the overall tax burden. Because I do know that some states don't have state tax, and we do, but our overall tax burden is much less, because our state sales tax and licenses fees and car tax, things like that, are much lower in other places. So anyways, it's a longer video than I wanted to make, but I just want to tell you folks that I'm trying. I know people that are trying. They've heard your cries that you're wanting to move out of these crazy socialist states, and you're struggling to try to find a place. I don't have a timeline, but I do know that there are some people, because of you folks, they're trying to make some things happen for you. So as soon as I hear from that, hear more, I will certainly be letting you know. Just be patient and understand she's just one person. Doesn't mean you have to use her. There are other real estate agents, you know, all over the area, but she's just one that I know personally, know that I can trust. So that's why I put her information out there. All right, folks. Hope to see you Sunday at the meeting, especially for those of you around here. I don't expect you to drive across the country, but I do hope to see a lot of you there. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.